Hey, I'm fresh out the sauna and sweating a bit, but wanted to jump on and make a video and talk about a healing story because yesterday I met up with a friend of mine who I've known for about 5 years, and this friend has seen like the whole journey from the days when I was running retreats and men's circles and doing community work, healing work, bringing people together. He also saw the early stages of when I began to go down the slippery slope into my spiritual crisis. And he also saw the depths and the darkness of that spiritual crisis. He was on the phone to me when I was locked up in prison. He saw me when I got out of prison and would meet regularly, and really saw how much of a state I had gone into. He really saw the extent of where I was. And this friend, he has himself been institutionalized in the mental health system in the UK. He's been sectioned, which means that he gets held against his will, deemed mentally unstable, and has been kind of on a process of recovery himself. And that's the reason actually why we first met. He was coming to different meetups, days, groups, gatherings that we were hosting around healing and men's work and things like that. And I've seen him a lot over the past year since I got out of prison, and we've been able to chat, and he's been able to see the process, the ongoing process. And our meeting last night, he just reiterated, he was like, wow, I cannot believe that you've been able to do a 360 like this. He was so surprised. He's continued to be surprised because he saw how much of a bad way I was in. He saw how mentally unstable I was. He saw how psychotic I was. And he even said, I genuinely thought you had schizophrenia. He said that to me last night. And he couldn't get over how much things have changed. And he has been there and done it. He's seen people like myself get institutionalized in mental health systems. He's been institutionalized with people like myself. And so he's got first-hand experience of what's really going on. Last night was the first time that he was able to really open up to me about the way he saw things, and he said, "You're walking such a tightrope." And he was questioning all of the milestones, if you like, along the way of the journey. What happened here? Were you mentally ill, psychotic, unstable here? What happened there? Were you mentally ill, psychotic, unstable there? And throughout the whole process. And it was fascinating to be able to answer his questions and to process things like that. And he was saying things like, you have to continue making videos. You have to show up and document this journey, because either one, you're so lucky the way that this has turned around for you, or number two, all of the hard work that you had been doing before, the healing, the spiritual work, has come full circle. And he said stuff like, before, when I saw you, yeah, you had traveled the world. Yeah, you had done so many ceremonies. Yeah, you had met with amazing spiritual leaders and teachers and shamans and been around an amazing crowd. But it kind of reeked of privilege, in the sense that anyone who has backing or resources or a comfortable environment behind them could have just done what I had done. And then he said, but considering that I saw you, I witnessed you go fully into the labyrinth, knowing that I saw and witnessed you become psychotic and mentally ill, and what I would consider and what I've seen people diagnosed as schizophrenia, and yet you've returned from that place, is magical and needs to be documented, and is a testament to all of the lessons, the hard work, and the journey that you've been on. And he said, of course you're not going to be where you are now. Of course you're not going to be exactly where you want to be. Of course you've still got lots of healing to do. Of course you've still got a lot of work to do. And yet what you have done is phenomenal. What you're moving through, the way you're processing things, the way you're interacting with life is phenomenal. We also got to speak about death. He's also contemplated death a lot. He's contemplated the point of life. He's contemplating a life worth living. He's contemplated careers and social relationships and everything, because I feel like that's a big part of going to those labyrinths, going to those places, going into those states of illness and dysfunction, to really test and stress test all of those things and find out what is worth living for, what is the point of all of this. And he spoke to me about death last night, and it was something along the lines of, death is like the final goal, the final milestone, the final point that we have to reach. And who knows when that will come. And the power of sobriety, because if that is the final goal, death, and we don't know when that will come, how can we meet that place, that border, that realm, that turning point, that fine line? How do we meet that place sober? How do we meet that place in a way where we can fully comprehend that rite of passage? How do we meet that place in a way that, regardless of the pain, regardless of the configuration of the death, we're conscious of it? I've worked in hospices doing death doula work and heard stories about people in hospital, and so many people are just pumped full of drugs. Yeah, completely blissed out. Yeah, they won't be feeling any pain, but in those times, are they really aware of what they're moving through, where they're going, what is passing through? And both of us have had addiction problems, and we know that state of addiction, we know that state of self-medicating, of self-soothing. And it was such a beautiful moment, an eye-opener, to have these discussions about the need for sobriety, the need for sobriety at death, and why that's important. And so today, the day after I met with him, I had a probation meeting. I met a new probation officer, and I was again reminded of the anguish, the discomfort, the angst, all the negative feelings. Meeting someone new, becoming anxious, panicking, panic attacks, sweating, discomfort. And it was difficult. And even though I had all these realizations yesterday, like straight back and bang, reminded of why I've been self-medicating and the difficulty of just showing up in life and showing up in social situations and doing my duty, and how hard that is. And yet these discussions, these small realizations, the making of this video, helping me to remember what is important, how to follow, chase, align with that which is important, and to remember the goal, the endpoint, the threshold, the portal of death. And before that portal comes, before that blessing comes, to learn how to regulate and function so it can be met in a sober, grounded way. And before that portal comes, to document and record this journey of making the most of the situations, the privilege, the comforts, the luxuries of life, and also going deep down into the rabbit hole and getting lost in the complexity and returning. And the last point I want to make is that it's almost as if I've graduated. It's been a decade of deep healing studies all around the world, retreats, meeting with different teachers, and making this my life. And what I've processed, gone through the past few years, this crisis, this spiritual crisis, this emergence, this rebirth, is the graduation. And meeting with my friend last night was kind of like my street graduation ceremony. It was like my street Harvard graduation ceremony, where I got to see the value in a brief flickering moment of what had been worked through, processed, tried and tested from the very depth of my soul, of my being. And another reminder to continue showing up in these videos and documenting this process. So it's clear this is going to be a long journey. Even though the glimmers, the flickers of hope come, like I mentioned today, everything kind of crashes and burns again. But yet I hold on to those flickers of hope, those small blessings, those special interactions, because that's the fuel, that's the direction, that's the light when everything else is dark, to move towards and to hone in on. So this is another healing story. Boyakasha.